There has been intelligence cooperation between Israel and India over the years. It's a long cooperation.
How would you define Israel-India relationship at the moment?
I think the relationships are progressing. India is big and is great. Israel is small. One has to remember the difference in size, but sometimes differences in size do not translate into differences in quality. Well, I grew up on Indian movies, but let me caution against that. Sometimes these areas are misleading. There has been intelligence cooperation between Israel and India over the years. It's a long cooperation, and I had the privilege of being in it, and I recall visits to India, heading delegations to talk with Indian counterparts and colleagues. I cannot go into further detail, but you can assume that these were mutually beneficial discussions. What I can comment on was the high level and the high professionalism of my Indian colleagues. Israel is credited with having a good intelligence service. I often ask myself, why are we that good? In the first place, one should be humble and one should be modest, and boasting is not a good intelligence trait. We should refer to ourselves as the least bad and not as necessarily the best in anything. Now, so why are we least bad? Israel is still a state which is struggling with enemies. It is this motivation, the patriotic, the sense of duty, that makes Israeli intelligence officer more committed, more willing to do the job, sacrifice more, because there is a great deal of sacrifice involved in living secretly, clandestinely, sometimes behind enemy lines. So it is this sense of purpose, I would say, is what giving us sometimes the edge. In the first place, I must tell you my sentimental attitude. I do not want to see these two countries go to war. Pakistan is, in our books, a country that is a problem at the moment. It has been a proliferator of nuclear know-how. Every once in a while, its Islamic orientation led them to cooperate with enemies of Israel, militarily and otherwise, which is not to say that one wouldn't like to see a change. That is to say that Pakistan would act more responsibly. You have a very good Office of Foreign Affairs, and you have enormously talented and educated and seasoned people at your service, on much higher level than many other countries. Is that enough to get your message across? I suppose it does, but I would not be surprised if, in the spirit of very lively Indian debate, you would be self-critical. But self-criticism sometimes is the mark of high quality. So have it both ways. There is room for criticism, but healthy criticism, but I think you're doing very well already. Well, it's a combination of factors. One, India is big. I just referred to that. It is big geographically, demographically, variety of options for sightseeing, ranging from the historical to monumental to chapters of history. So it is a continent. Secondly, many come here to unwind. After 3 or 2 years of military service, relative inexpensiveness of coming here compared to European alternatives is also a factor. I think I know that because my own daughters wanted to come here. And there is a small, tiny element which also interests us. World events took place here. So the history is fascinating. And finally, there are some tiny chapters of Jewish life in India, but there is another dimension. The people are good. You feel as if you are in a friendly civilization, in a friendly culture.